Hi everyone and welcome back to Coachy TV. We're going to do another race breakdown video here today, this time from a young man named Frankie Godbold and his state qualifying performance in the 800 meters. I'm Kyle Giacono. I'm the head boys cross country and track coach at Wharton High School, and I have been for the last 6 years. If you want a closer look at my credentials, they're on the screen. So let's talk a little bit about the 800 meters before we look at this race itself. So the 800, the best predictor of who's going to win it is a combination of someone's VO2 max, or their 2-mile pace, over their running economy, just how efficiently they are in terms of movement. And the combination of these two predict the winner of the 800 94.1% of the time. You need a two-part of this equation to figure out who's going to win it, just because so much can happen in an 800 meters. It's so short, it's so fast, so many things can happen. So there's not one true thing that predicts who's going to win the 800 in the same way that you can pretty much determine who's going to win a 5K just from VO2 max or a 3,200 meter from VO2 max. So let's take a look at some of this in terms of the VO2 max specifics. You run your 800 meters at 120 to 136% of your 2-mile pace. Such a big range there because so many different people run the 800. 120% would be your 2-miler moving down. 136% is like your 400-meter runner moving up. And in terms of where the energy is coming from, a very large percent, 10%, comes from the ATP that's sitting in your cells, and then the phosphocreatine system that recharges that energy system. Very big amount, and you're also going to see that at the beginning and at the very end of your race in terms of the kick. 30% is going to come from your long speed system, your anaerobic glycolytic system, which is much more than any other endurance race, which makes sense because it's the shortest and the fastest. But 60% is still going to come from the aerobic system. By the way, VO2 max over running economy is also the #1 predictor of who's going to win a mile, a very similar type race to the 800 meters. So let's talk a little bit about Frankie Godbold entering this race. Frankie was the #8 seed based on district times entering this regional meet. But he was outside the top 12 in terms of season best times. The way that we do it in Florida is we have 4 districts that feed into one region, and we take the top 4 from those districts. So there are 16 kids in this race, and based on season best times, Frankie was not even in the top half of it. However, the week before at districts, he PR'd in the 800 when he went 2:03.58. Frankie had always been trained like a 2-miler. This is a person that's going to run his 800 more at 120% of his VO2 max. And the 800 meters at districts was really just a shot in the dark. We decided to run him in the mile that year, and the 800 is about an hour and a half afterwards. We thought, well, maybe you can get a point or two, and we just kind of threw him in the 800 meters, and lo and behold, he actually got second and PR'd and qualified for the regional meet. Frankie had always showed incredible promise in terms of his foot speed when we tested his fly 30s. About every other week or so, we do a whole workout where we test fly 30 speed, and his best time ever was 3.24, which is incredibly fast for a distance or middle distance runner. A sprinter can do that, but it really showed that this kid had the ability to really turn over when he needed to. Frankie's also a 2-sport athlete. He always played soccer in the winter season. He also played a lot of club soccer. So he had great literacy of motion, a very good athlete. He didn't just try and do distance running all the time. He did all these different, this different sport too. And I think that really made him a really all-around athlete. His other PRs to this point in his career, his 400 was 54.27, his mile was 440.87, his 2-mile at 1028.17, and his 5K from cross country was 17 minutes and 27 seconds. So let's take a look at the race itself. Frankie is this young man who's all the way out here in lane 8, so let's go ahead and get this started. So as you notice, he didn't try to go right to the front of the pack. There are some really fast runners in this race. The kid in second and third place come from the same school, second and third place come from the same school, and they're both 155, 156 kids. So Frankie went out conservatively. He's in that first pack at the 200. He had a little bit of fortune in the fact that it opened up a little bit on the inside, and he almost stumbles right around here, and I think he makes a really good tactical decision to go and get out of trouble kind of for the rest of this race itself as we get a little bit more into it. So he was 28 seconds about at the first 200, and as he comes through the first 4, he is in 8th place, about 59 seconds, nothing too crazy. So he's in position to score, but not to get out at this point because it's top 4, and then we have an at-large process for making the state meet also. And right around 300 meters, this is where the important thing is, where he moves to the outside so he can make passes, and when he goes, he never looks back. He just turns on these jets and really just gobbles people up. Goes to the outside. Just keeps turning over, turning over, turning over. At 200 meters to go, I think what's really also savvy here is he gets back onto the inside. He had some fortune in the fact that he dipped inside and then follows the 2 young men from Lakewood Ranch to the outside and just follows them through the last 100. Fantastic mechanics, good knee lift, good arm action, and ends up finishing in 3rd place and auto qualifies for the state meets at about 1 minute and 57 seconds. From a young man that had never run faster than 2:03 and actually entering the district meet a couple of weeks ago, prior to this, his best time was 2:08. So let's just take a look at a recap of what Frankie did here. So a conservative first 400, he was in that main pack. And after the first 200, where you saw that little stumble, he stayed out of trouble. He went to the outside when it was safe, then he went back inside when it made sense. He really kept himself out of trouble, and in the 800, there can be a lot of collisions and things like that happening. So he did a great job of staying out of trouble after that first 200. And when he also then went to the outside with 300 meters to go. You obviously can't pass if people are right in front of you, but it's easier to pass on a straightaway, which makes a lot of sense, and then tucked back in safely when he was able to. And when he made that final kick at about 250, he never let up. He just kept turning over, kept turning over. It wasn't a surge and then try and just hold on for dear life with 100 to go. He just kept turning over, and that's really where he made it to where he was going to qualify for the state meet. So to break down this race in terms of the numbers, he was 157.97. Again, that's about a 6-second PR from a couple weeks ago when he PR'd at our district meet, and he ended up finishing 3rd. His first 200 was in 28 seconds, and his first lap was in about 59. And his last lap was 58 seconds, so this was a reverse split. So this young man also knew what his strengths were. He knew he was a 2-miler moving down. He knew that if he tried to go 57, 56, which remember his PR 400 was 54 coming into this, he's probably going to just totally burn out. He had strength on his side and just kept on keeping in a good position and made sure he really made everything of that second lap, which was going to be his strength in terms of reverse splitting. So great race here by Frankie, really tactically sound, good mechanics, and just did everything right in order to qualify for the state meet. If you like this video, please think about liking or subscribing. If you have any questions, maybe you saw something in this race that I didn't, please maybe add it in the description down below. I'm going to continue to do these race breakdown videos as I have them. And until next time, this has been Coachy TV.